Let's journey back in time, to the sun-baked lands of ancient Egypt, to the sacred city of Abydos and its famed temple of Seti Thras. Within these weathered walls, we're about to witness something that challenges our understanding of history. Could it be that the ancients possessed technology we thought was only dreamed of in modern times? Perhaps even technology gleaned from the stars themselves. Our story begins with the discovery of peculiar hieroglyphs etched into the temple ceiling in Abydos. Take a long, hard look. Do these carvings depict the everyday life of ancient Egyptians, or something far more extraordinary? Eerily, they resemble modern, even extraterrestrial vehicles, a little too closely to dismiss as mere coincidence. Is it any wonder that some believe these Abydos carvings are concrete proof that ancient astronauts visited Earth over 3,000 years ago? Did ancient Egyptian artists immortalize their encounters with spacecraft on the very roof supports of this temple? These enigmatic carvings have earned a fitting name, the helicopter hieroglyphs. Some speculate that these mysterious artifacts depict 20th century technology, or perhaps even technology from another star system, maybe even a distant galaxy. Observe this particular image. Doesn't it bear a striking resemblance to a helicopter, or perhaps even a submarine? And here, can we not discern the clear outlines of two planes? Or could it be something else entirely? A UFO, perhaps? Whatever the truth, none of these machines existed at the time these hieroglyphs were carved into stone. Viewed from this perspective, it seems to lend credence to the ancient astronaut theory, which proposes that intelligent extraterrestrial beings, alien astronauts, visited our planet and made contact with humans in ancient and prehistoric times. In this scenario, the hieroglyphs become undeniable proof of this extraterrestrial contact in the distant past. Some ufologists even suggest that aliens were responsible for the creation of iconic monuments like the pyramids of Egypt and Stonehenge, among many others. Now, some argue that the images circulating online are nothing more than clever fakes. But the truth is, they are very real. However, Egyptologists offer a more grounded explanation for the carvings at Abydos. In ancient Egypt, it was common practice for hieroglyphs to be recarved and refaced over time. This process, known as palimpsest, often occurred when a new pharaoh ascended to the throne. The new ruler's name would be carved over the previous one, a symbolic act of asserting power and continuity. We have documented evidence that this occurred at the temple of Seti Thur in Abydos, particularly during the reign of his son, Ramses II. Blogger Hypno Goyle expressed his frustration with what he perceives as the gullibility of New Age UFO and Atlantis enthusiasts. He explained that the roof support carvings were initiated during Seti Thur's reign and completed by Ramses II. Consequently, where Seti Thur's name was inscribed, Ramses II's carving overlapped it, and vice versa. Over the centuries, the erosion of these carvings, combined with the overlapping hieroglyphs, created the illusion of modern machines. But in reality, these unsettling images were, in essence, accidental. Yet, some continue to question this scientific explanation. They argue that if the carvings were simply the result of older hieroglyphs being covered up, the resulting symbols should appear random and unique. However, several sources, including the Arab newspaper Al-Sharq al-Awsat, published images from the Amun-Re temple in Karnak, which display carvings strikingly similar to those found at Abydos. Supporters of the extraterrestrial origin theory argue that if the Karnak carvings are authentic, the palimpsest theory loses its credibility. But it is more probable that ufologists are seeing what they desperately want to see, conveniently ignoring any scientific evidence that contradicts their theories. They resist accepting the fact that erosion, along with the phenomenon of overlapping hieroglyphs, could easily have occurred at both historical sites. Now, let's turn our attention to another mystery, one that is said to lurk beneath the sands of Giza. Scientists have stumbled upon something strange, and they have no idea what it is. Using advanced ground scanning technology, archaeologists have discovered a hidden structure near the Great Pyramid. What secrets lie within? As of yet, nobody knows, but excavations are already underway, and the world watches with bated breath. The Great Pyramid of Giza, a colossal monument to human ingenuity, is but one element of a much larger complex. It stands within an ancient necropolis, a vast royal graveyard teeming with tombs and monuments. These are the final resting places of pharaohs, nobles, and other high-ranking officials, each structure a testament to their power and status. Most of these tombs are above ground, known as mastabas. These are rectangular, flat-roofed tombs constructed from limestone or mud brick, and they have been studied extensively for decades. But as we've learned from countless movies and documentaries, these were not merely simple graves. They contained deep, vertical shafts leading to subterranean burial chambers where the past was sealed away for eternity. And recently, archaeologists. The Iberian tongue, a language utterly distinct from the Indo-European family, echoed across the Iberian Peninsula for centuries. Yet over 2 millennia ago, it began its slow fade into silence. Today, frustratingly, no linguistic relatives remain to offer a Rosetta Stone, a key to unlock its secrets. Imagine, over 2,000 Iberian inscriptions, etched onto tombs, stamped onto coins, painted onto pottery, engraved on lead plates, even carved into the very walls of caves, stare back at us, mute. Aside from a mere handful of deciphered words, the vast ocean of their meaning remains shrouded in darkness. If only we possessed the key to their language. Perhaps we would discover that the Iberians were profound thinkers, philosophers whose wisdom rivaled the Greeks. Alas, we are left only to contemplate the artistry of their creations. Iberian culture blossomed with remarkable skill, a testament to the talents of its artisans. Their legacy includes not only intricate metalwork and beautifully crafted ceramics, but also detailed sculptures, finely woven textiles, glittering jewelry, and other personal adornments. But here lies a crucial point. The creation of these luxury goods rested upon the broad shoulders of a substantial farming class. At the very heart of Iberian society, the majority of its people toiled in the fields and tended to livestock. The specific agricultural practices varied depending on the region. In the northern lands, the cultivation of grains dominated the landscape, while further south, in the region of Valencia, the focus shifted to the production of olive oil and other specialized crops. To the west, animal husbandry reigned supreme. Despite the fundamental importance of their labor, our knowledge of the day-to-day lives of these hardworking individuals remains frustratingly limited. Conversely, we possess a far greater understanding of the Iberian upper class, those who controlled the agricultural resources and commissioned the skilled artisans. By the 7th century BCE, a distinct group of Iberian princes had emerged, enjoying a life of privilege, engaging in trade with the Phoenicians, and indulging in opulent luxury items. The existence of this elite class is clearly reflected in their elaborate burial practices. Cremation served as the standard funerary rite among the Iberians, but the wealthy were interred in cemeteries adorned with lavish goods and sculptures. These artifacts offer us tantalizing glimpses into the fashions and hairstyles of the rich and powerful. Intriguingly, starting in the 6th century BCE, a noticeable decline occurred in the number of recognizable burials, suggesting that these elaborate funerary customs became increasingly exclusive to a select few. Meanwhile, the fate of the majority, the farmers, artisans, soldiers, and laborers who constituted the vast bulk of the population, remains largely a mystery. This advanced civilization flourished, then faded, leaving behind unanswered questions. Some researchers speculate that a cataclysmic earthquake may have been the cause, but definitive proof remains elusive. No man shall ever find my tomb. So goes the rumor surrounding Cleopatra, the last queen of Egypt. But perhaps it wasn't about gender at all. Perhaps she intended that no living soul, regardless of their sex, should ever disturb her eternal rest. Perhaps she believed that no human eye should ever gaze upon her final resting place. Surprisingly, it was indeed a woman who came closer than any before to unraveling the mystery of the Queen's lost tomb. Enter Kathleen Martinez Bry, a criminal lawyer who traded the courtroom for the sands of Egypt, transforming herself into an archaeologist. Utterly captivated by the story of Cleopatra, she embarked on a daring quest, traveling to Egypt without official support, even lacking formal permission from the authorities. Armed with nothing but an unwavering determination to locate the queen's tomb, she set out to achieve the impossible. Kathleen had always possessed a remarkable drive. She accelerated through her schooling, mastered the piano, excelled at chess, conquered swimming, and honed her skills in martial arts. Growing up in a home where intellectual debates were commonplace, she absorbed knowledge like a sponge. She earned her law degree at the astonishingly young age of 19, while archaeology remained her passionate side interest. She had never set foot in Egypt, never unearthed a single artifact. Yet her fascination with Cleopatra ignited during a spirited argument with her father back in 1990. On that fateful day, she sought a copy of Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra from his extensive library. Her father, Fausto Martinez, a professor and legal expert, casually dismissed Cleopatra as merely a seductress. Kathleen vehemently disagreed. She countered, arguing that history had unfairly maligned Cleopatra, that Roman propaganda had deliberately sought to destroy her reputation. For centuries, she insisted, people had blindly accepted the Roman version of the story. The debate raged for hours, culminating in her father conceding that perhaps he had judged Cleopatra too harshly. That conversation proved to be a pivotal moment for Kathleen. From that day forward, she immersed herself in ancient texts, particularly Plutarch's account of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. The more she learned, the more convinced she became that Cleopatra was far more than just a queen who had fallen in love with the wrong man. She was a brilliant strategist, navigating a treacherous political landscape to preserve Egypt's independence. As she delved deeper into her research, a thought began to take root. What if everyone had been searching for Cleopatra's tomb in the wrong location all along? The idea refused to be dismissed. While caring for her second child, she pursued and earned a master's degree in archaeology. Imagine a relentless quest, an unwavering dedication to unraveling one of history's greatest mysteries. This is the story of Dr. Martinez, whose burning passion was ignited by Cleopatra, a fascination that would consume her life as she sought the truth about the legendary queen. While most experts believe Cleopatra's tomb, along with the remains of 13 other Ptolemaic rulers, rests somewhere beneath the bustling modern city of Alexandria, Dr. Martinez held a different vision. Her conviction led her to Osiris Magna, an ancient temple devoted to Osiris, the Egyptian god of the afterlife. She believed Cleopatra was buried there, but she needed irrefutable evidence, an ancient foundation plate. These plates, about the size of a modern smartphone, were placed beneath significant temple structures. They often bore inscriptions explaining the temple's origins and purpose. If she could unearth a plate confirming the temple's dedication to Isis, Cleopatra's patron deity, she would have concrete proof that she was excavating in the right location. Nothing could deter Martinez. She meticulously excavated the entire temple site, delving deeper than any archaeologist before her. Her team unearthed coins stamped with Cleopatra's name and likeness, confirming Cleopatra's direct connection to this sacred place. Then, they made an even more intriguing discovery: a tunnel that once carried water, stretching from the temple directly into the Mediterranean Sea. Could it be that parts of the temple, perhaps even Cleopatra's tomb, had already succumbed to the waves, swallowed by the sea? To gain permission from Egyptian authorities to initiate an underwater search, Martinez needed definitive proof. Against all odds, she found the missing foundation plate. The inscription revealed that the pharaoh had dedicated a vast area of Nubia to Isis. This was it, the confirmation she desperately needed. The temple was indeed dedicated to Isis, validating her theory. If one temple remained on land, Martinez reasoned, the second temple, possibly Cleopatra's final resting place, may have collapsed into the sea. To explore this possibility, she sought the expertise of Robert Ballard, the renowned oceanographer who discovered the wreck of the Titanic. With the backing of Egyptian authorities, Martinez and her team embarked on an underwater expedition off the coast of Alexandria. What they found was astonishing. They uncovered colossal stone structures, some towering 6 to 10 feet tall, precisely where the coastline would have been thousands of years ago. They also found basalt blocks, the very same material used to construct the statues in the first temple. This could mean only one thing. These weren't just random rocks. They were the remnants of a lost city, submerged beneath the waves for centuries, guarding its secrets. Now, we can only wait and see if Martinez and her team will succeed in deciphering one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world, a mystery left behind by the extraordinary woman that was Cleopatra. To truly understand Cleopatra, we need some backstory. After the death of her father, Ptolemy Thuanth, the throne of Egypt was seemingly passed to both Ptolemy Thuanth and Cleopatra. Cleopatra, only 18 years old at the time, allegedly married her 10-year-old brother. While such unions were not uncommon among ancient royalty, solid proof of this marriage remains elusive. But this sibling partnership was short-lived. The young Ptolemy, craving absolute power, attempted to oust Cleopatra. Forced to flee the country, she didn't surrender. Instead, she raised an army, preparing to reclaim her birthright. By the age of 21, she found herself in the Sinai Desert, leading an army and plotting her return to the throne. By this time, Cleopatra had forged a powerful alliance, both political and personal, with Julius Caesar. In June of 47 BC, she gave birth to a son, Ptolemy Caesar, better known as Caesarion, whom many believed to be Caesar's child. However, this didn't deter her from adhering to Egyptian royal customs. She took another husband, her other brother, Ptolemy XIV. Despite her ongoing relationship with Caesar, Cleopatra married yet another sibling, reinforcing the tradition of keeping the throne within the family. Despite the marriages, Cleopatra's bond with Caesar remained strong. She even traveled to Rome with Ptolemy XIII for a state visit. However, rather than fulfilling the role of a demure queen, she resided in Caesar's private villa along the Tiber River. But after Julius Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC on the Ides of March, Cleopatra's political standing became precarious. To compound her troubles, her brother-husband, Ptolemy XIV, died shortly thereafter. Some whisper that Cleopatra may have been involved, leaving her as the sole ruler of Egypt. Meanwhile, back in Rome, Mark Antony was gaining power as Caesar's presumed successor. Seeking to assess the Queen of Egypt, he summoned Cleopatra, and she was determined to make an impression. Sailing into the city on a lavish barge, adorned as a goddess, Cleopatra made a grand entrance. Antony was instantly captivated, so much so that he abandoned his third wife in Rome. Imagine for a moment the opulence and intrigue of ancient Egypt. Cleopatra, the last queen of Egypt, followed Julius Caesar to Alexandria, and their alliance soon blossomed into a passionate royal affair. From their union came 3 children. Together, Cleopatra and Caesar's heir, Mark Antony, would wage a desperate war against Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, for absolute control of the vast Roman Empire. The final glimpse of the queen shows her within her mausoleum, adorned in the full regalia of royalty. Upon her head rested a diadem, and she reclined on what the historian Plutarch described as a golden couch. The defeat of Antony and Cleopatra at the Battle of Actium signaled the end, and Octavian's legions marched relentlessly into Alexandria. Cleopatra, it seems, was under no illusions about her impending fate. She sealed herself within her imposing mausoleum, surrounded by staggering wealth. Gold, silver, shimmering pearls, and priceless works of art. These were the treasures she vowed to incinerate rather than allow them to fall into Roman hands. Antony, facing certain capture, chose a more direct route. He turned his own sword upon himself, inflicting a mortal wound. But before death claimed him, he was carried to Cleopatra's side. In her arms, he drew his last breath. A little over a week later, Cleopatra made her final fateful decision. Rather than endure the humiliation of being paraded as Octavian's prisoner, she chose to end her own life. Legend whispers of the bite of a deadly asp, though the historical record remains frustratingly unclear. At the time of her death, Cleopatra was only 39 years old. A life, it seems, lived to its absolute fullest. Now, picture a scene vastly different, yet equally compelling. Miles upon miles of sun-baked yellow sand stretch before us, punctuated by treeless, rugged mountain ridges. The scorching sun beats down from above. Suddenly, an unexpected sight breaks the monotony of the barren desert landscape. A small group of people buzzing with excitement. Their joy is palpable, akin to winning a life-altering lottery. They have stumbled upon an ancient tomb, its walls scarred by the ravages of time and long-ago floods. But the artifacts discovered within leave no doubt. This is the long-lost burial site of one of Egypt's most enigmatic pharaohs. For years, historians have tirelessly searched for his tomb, never imagining that it would lie hidden beneath such unassuming sands, concealing such ancient treasures. Fast forward to the present day. After meticulous examination of the site, Egyptian officials proudly announce a monumental discovery, the tomb of King Thutmose II. This represents the last missing royal tomb from Egypt's illustrious 18th dynasty. And, remarkably, it is the first royal tomb to be unearthed since the legendary discovery of King Tutankhamun's resting place in 1922, over a century ago. A joint team of Egyptian and British archaeologists unearthed the tomb in the Theban Mountains, located west of Luxor, near the renowned Valley of the Kings. Previously, the site was simply known as Tomb C4. However, during their painstaking excavation, the team uncovered undeniable evidence confirming its connection to King Thutmose II. The archaeologists initially located the entrance and main tunnel leading to the tomb in 2022. However, their initial assumption was that it belonged to a queen, due to its proximity to the graves of Thutmose III's wives. It was also located near the tomb of the powerful Queen Hatshepsut. The tomb was originally intended for her when she was merely a royal wife, but fate had other plans when she ascended to the throne as pharaoh. But we'll delve into that remarkable twist of fate later. Soon, however, the team realized the profound significance of their discovery. They unearthed alabaster jars bearing Thutmose II's name, accompanied by the inscription, "Deceased King." This was the definitive proof they needed. The tomb was, in fact, his final resting place. Sadly, Thutmose II's tomb has clearly suffered the relentless assault of time. According to the head of Egypt's antiquity sector and the leader of the Egyptian excavation team, the tomb sustained extensive damage from catastrophic ancient floods shortly after the pharaoh's death. Torrential waters surged through the burial chamber, undoubtedly destroying or displacing a significant portion of the original artifacts. Much of the tomb's original contents were subsequently moved to other locations in a desperate attempt to salvage what remained. The researchers determined that the tomb followed a relatively straightforward design consisting of an entrance, a sloping main corridor, and the burial chamber itself. The corridor was coated in pristine white plaster and rose approximately 4.5 feet above the floor of the burial chamber. A grand staircase and an exceptionally large descending corridor hinted at the tomb's original grandeur. Navigating the tomb proved to be a considerable challenge for the team, as it was heavily obstructed by flood debris and sections of collapsed ceilings. Only after painstakingly crawling through a claustrophobic 32-foot passageway with a mere 16-inch gap at the top, a true nightmare for anyone with claustrophobia, were they finally able to reach the burial chamber. There, they encountered yet another surprise. After carefully clearing away the accumulated debris, they fully expected to find the shattered remains of a burial beneath. Instead, the tomb was completely empty. This was not the result of tomb robbers. The tomb had been deliberately emptied. The researchers soon came to understand that the tomb had been repeatedly flooded, as it was, unfortunately, constructed beneath a waterfall. This catastrophic flooding occurred only a few years after the king's burial. Consequently, the contents of the tomb were carefully relocated to another, safer location. This explains the presence of a second corridor within the tomb. It was most likely constructed to facilitate the removal of King Thutmose II's body from his flood-ravaged tomb. Imagine a scene: an ancient tomb, disturbed but not defeated. Despite the ravages of time and the intrusions of tomb robbers, an excavation team unearths astonishing relics. We see traces of mortar adorned with intricate blue inscriptions and golden yellow stars. Fragments of the Book of Amduat lie scattered, one of the most crucial texts from ancient Egypt. This book, a guide for the deceased, was believed to lead souls through the treacherous underworld, ensuring their safe passage to the afterlife. Now, let's journey further back in time, to the illustrious 18th dynasty of ancient Egypt. This was a golden age of conquest, empire building, and the construction of awe-inspiring monuments. Among the titans of this era stand Thutmose I and Thutmose III, legendary warrior kings whose names echo through the corridors of history. Thutmose I, a truly formidable warrior, spearheaded major military campaigns that pushed Egypt's borders further south than ever before, reaching the Fourth Cataract of the Nile. These victories opened up new trade routes, strengthened political alliances, and brought unprecedented wealth to Egypt. His conquests were so monumental that they were meticulously recorded within the tombs of his highest-ranking officials. But Thutmose III, often hailed as Thutmose the Great, surpassed even his predecessor. He was not only a brilliant military strategist, but also served as the commander of Pharaoh Hatshepsut's armies before ascending to the throne himself. Leading an astonishing 17 to 20 military campaigns, he emerged victorious in every single one, expanding the Egyptian empire to its zenith. He even pioneered the creation of the world's first true navy. Thutmose III is forever etched in history as Egypt's greatest warrior pharaoh. And then there was Thutmose Tut, sandwiched between these two colossal figures. A pharaoh often overlooked, a middle child in the grand narrative of Egyptian history. His reign was brief, lasting only about 5 years before his death, around the age of 30, in 1479 BCE. He remained something of an enigma, his accomplishments shrouded in mystery. For centuries, even the location of his final resting place was unknown. His body was eventually discovered in the 19th century, lying within a secret chamber in the mortuary temple of Deir el-Bahri. This chamber served as a hiding place for royal mummies, concealed by priests long after their original tombs had been plundered by grave robbers. It's clear that Thutmose II's body had been moved from its initial burial site to safeguard it from further desecration. Despite his short reign, Thutmose II left at least one significant mark on Egyptian history. He married his half-sister, Hatshepsut, a decision that would pave the way for her to become one of Egypt's most powerful female pharaohs after his death. However, her rise to power came at a cost. She kept her stepson, Thutmose III, from the throne for decades. When he finally seized power, he sought to erase her name from history, a testament to his resentment. Yet Hatshepsut remains one of Egypt's greatest pharaohs, regardless of gender. She brought immense wealth and artistic innovation to the kingdom. She led a grand trading expedition to a land known as Punt, returning with treasures such as gold, ebony, and fragrant incense. She also ensured her legacy by commissioning magnificent structures that still stand today. At Karnak, she added colossal obelisks, one of which still towers over the landscape. She also built the magnificent temple of Deir el-Bahri, adorned with countless columns, where she was eventually buried. Intriguingly, Hatshepsut was often depicted in art as a man, with muscles and a beard, mirroring the traditional portrayal of pharaohs. However, she always included elements in her artwork that reminded viewers of her female identity, such as referring to herself as the daughter of Ra, or His Majesty herself. Upon her death in 1458 BCE, Egypt would not see another female ruler of her stature until Cleopatra, some 1,400 years later. According to the Secretary-General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, Hatshepsut's name even appears within Thutmose II's tomb, suggesting that she may have overseen his burial. As for their final resting places, Hatshepsut was buried in the Valley of the Kings, while Thutmose II's mummy now resides in the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, alongside other ancient Egyptian rulers. This offers visitors a rare glimpse into the remains of a nearly forgotten pharaoh. Experts now consider the discovery of his tomb to be one of the most significant archaeological finds in recent years. The artifacts unearthed there provide crucial details that enhance our understanding of the region's history and Thutmose II's reign. Even though the tomb's design is relatively simple, adhering to the architectural style favored by later Egyptian rulers, its historical importance is undeniable. But the mission is far from over. Archaeologists are now focused on unraveling another mystery: the whereabouts of the tomb's remaining contents. The team is determined to continue their search, driven by the hope of uncovering further secrets from this ancient era. Who knows what other wonders await discovery? Imagine traveling back thousands of years to a time when pharaohs ruled and secrets lay buried beneath the sands of Egypt. What mysteries remain hidden, waiting to be unearthed? Recently, archaeologists made a stunning discovery near the tomb of King Tutankhamun, or King Tut, as he's popularly known. It seems the boy king's final resting place wasn't quite as exclusive as we thought. Instead, it resembled something of a public graveyard, revealing around a dozen wooden coffins dating back roughly 3,600 years. Okay, perhaps right next to is an exaggeration. These 11 tombs weren't directly adjacent to King Tut's, but they were situated close by, near the ancient city of Luxor. These new findings offer invaluable clues, helping us reconstruct daily life in ancient Egypt. And what do these discoveries reveal? That ancient Egyptians, in many ways, were remarkably like us. For example, a woman's love for jewelry clearly transcends millennia. Archaeologists unearthed a magnificent necklace adorned with 30 amethyst beads, 2 agate beads, and a hippo head amulet. One can imagine it was quite the fashion statement back in its day. The team also found 2 copper mirrors. One featured a handle shaped like a lotus flower, while the other was decorated with an image of Hathor, the ancient Egyptian deity of the sky, women, fertility, and love. These recent excavations near Tutankhamun's burial site led to another astonishing revelation. For the first time in millennia, fragments of Queen Hatshepsut's Valley Temple were brought to light. Hatshepsut, a fearless woman, is believed to have been the second female pharaoh, ruling with both courage and wisdom. Her legacy, as enduring as the stones she built with, continues to inspire awe. Her temple, concealed for centuries, offers a unique portal into an era defined by power, intrigue, and profound spiritual devotion. Archaeologists unearthed over 1,000 exquisitely decorated stone blocks on the outskirts of Hatshepsut's temple. History reminds us that very few women managed to ascend to the throne in ancient Egypt. Another tomb was discovered nearby, belonging to Jahut-Mez, the overseer of Queen Teti Sheri's palace. It seems Queen Hatshepsut had even more secrets up her sleeve, or rather, carved into the rock. These tombs were hewn directly into the stone, rather than constructed as freestanding pyramids, reflecting a distinctive ancient perspective on safeguarding the soul in the afterlife. Experts successfully recovered some remarkable ancient artifacts from the site, including clay toys, mummy masks, winged scarabs, and various amulets. Sadly, there were undoubtedly far more artifacts originally present. Over the centuries, others besides archaeologists stumbled upon this site. Looters likely preceded the researchers, pilfering valuable items. However, they did leave behind some fascinating remnants, such as pottery used for offerings of bread and meat, and archers' bows, linking the tomb's occupants to the Egyptian military. Meanwhile, the protection of the soul was paramount, especially when venturing around Luxor in search of ancient secrets. But are you brave enough? Are you scared of King Tut's curse? Let me recount what happened to those who scoffed at the curse, but remember to take it with a grain of salt. For years, Egyptologists, particularly those inclined towards the paranormal, were convinced that a malevolent curse surrounded the archaeological discoveries of Tutankhamun. This belief arose from the mysterious and premature deaths of several excavators who discovered the tomb in 1922. With no logical explanation to be found, it seemed easier to attribute their demise to supernatural forces. But it turns out the real culprit wasn't a curse at all. It was likely radiation that caused the excavators to perish. Now, you might ask, where did the radiation come from? While radioactivity was discovered in the 19th century, the ancient Egyptians, despite their impressive pyramids, didn't have any radium readily available to make Tut's tomb glow. So, what's the real story? The answer may lie in toxic waste. Hazardous levels of radiation from uranium and other dangerous materials have been lurking within the tomb since it was sealed over 3,000 years ago. Reportedly, the burial chamber of Tutankhamun's tomb has such dangerously high radiation levels that anyone entering it could easily suffer a fatal dose of radiation sickness or develop an incurable condition. In a way, the level of radioactivity is similar to the dangers of not throwing away those moldy leftovers you left to fester in your fridge for a month. But this radioactivity isn't unique to Tutankhamun's tomb. Ancient Egyptian artifact discovery is a rewarding yet dangerous endeavor due to the unusually high radiation levels found in Old Kingdom tombs across Egypt. Geiger counters have detected radiation at 2 sites near the Giza pyramids. And radon, a radioactive gas, has been found. Imagine journeying beneath the sands of Saqqara to where ancient secrets lie buried. Here, in the silent darkness, archaeologists have unearthed numerous underground tombs, each whispering tales of a forgotten era. But these aren't just any tombs. Chillingly, the builders seemed acutely aware of hidden dangers. Eerie warnings, etched into the very walls, served as stark reminders. One inscription, heavy with dread, proclaimed, "They that break this tomb shall meet their end by a malady that no doctor can diagnose." Other phrases, equally ominous, spoke of forbidden zones and malevolent spirits, fueling the belief that a supernatural curse clung to these ancient sites. Such ominous signs have haunted archaeologists for ages. Yet the fear truly took root a century ago with the untimely demise of Lord Carnarvon, the man who bankrolled the 1922 excavation of King Tutankhamun's tomb. He, along with others, ventured into the treasure-laden chambers. Arthur Weigel, another British Egyptologist present at the opening, and the man credited with starting the curse myth, also died young, in his early 50s in 1934. Perhaps the condition that caused his death was connected to radiation. In total, 6 of the 26 individuals present when the tomb was breached met their end within a decade, succumbing to a variety of causes. These weren't solely due to X-ray exposure. The causes included asphyxia, stroke, heart failure, pneumonia, and even poisoning. A rather grim tally, wouldn't you agree? But one man, Howard Carter, the lead archaeologist, seemed to defy the infamous curse. His survival was touted by some as proof that the curse was nothing more than myth. Following the tomb's discovery, Carter authored several books on the subject and transitioned from archaeology to dealing in antiquities for various museums. Despite escaping death or injury, rumors persisted that the curse had affected him in other ways. One persistent story linked him romantically to Lord Carnarvon's daughter, Evelyn. Some whispered of unrequited love, claiming he remained single after she married another. Others alleged a clandestine affair during her time in Egypt, which ended with her father's death and her subsequent departure. However, concrete evidence to support these tales remained elusive. Evelyn was only 6 years old when they met, and they remained friends until his death. She even attended his funeral, denying any romantic involvement, stating that they weren't that close. A year after the groundbreaking discovery at King Tut's tomb, Evelyn married politician Sir Brograve Beauchamp and had a daughter. In that same year, Beauchamp toured the tomb with his parents, guided by Carter himself. Carter never married, and aside from the rumors surrounding Evelyn, no other romantic connections were known. While the curse adds an intriguing layer to his story, his tendency to maintain distance in relationships was apparent long before the tomb's opening. It seemed Carter was simply not a people person. In 1939, after a period of serious illness, he succumbed to fate at the age of 64, a common life expectancy in the UK at the time. His death was not immediately attributed to an ancient curse. Upon his death, it was discovered that Carter possessed several artifacts from Tutankhamun's tomb in his London apartment. These were eventually returned to Egypt, marking what some considered the curse's end. One wonders, had he not kept those ancient souvenirs, might he have lived longer? The other deaths, however, seem unsettling. The curse theory was likely amplified by strange occurrences during the excavation. Carnarvon suffered a mosquito bite that became severely infected. Around the time the tomb was opened, Cairo experienced a bizarre power outage during an unusual sandstorm. Back in England, the Earl's dog, Susie, escaped from Carnarvon's house and began barking frantically at seemingly nothing. At least, that's how it appeared to the staff and family. Strangely, at that precise moment, her owner's heart stopped. Susie then howled and collapsed, lifeless. Perhaps radiation wasn't the sole culprit, after all. Could it have been the ancient artifacts from King Tut's tomb that brought about their demise? Spooky, isn't it? Now, imagine another discovery. the tomb of a royal doctor who lived over 4,000 years ago, a man who held Pharaoh's very life in his hands. This man possessed secrets known only to deities and kings. Yet when his tomb was opened in 2024, no body was found. Only vivid paintings, untouched by time, and cryptic symbols carved into the stone. Who was he? And why was he buried with spells linked to a scorpion deity? This tomb, like so many others, lay hidden deep beneath the sands of Saqqara. The doctor's name was Tete Nebu. He lived around 4,100 years ago, during a period of great upheaval and intrigue. Imagine traveling back in time, not to the age of dinosaurs, but to a pivotal moment in human history, roughly 4,300 years ago, during a period of immense change in ancient Egypt. Picture the land on the cusp of transformation, a time of both incredible splendor and impending doom. We find ourselves at the tail end of Egypt's old kingdom. The sun's rays still illuminate the magnificent, newly erected pyramids, symbols of power and eternity. However, long shadows are beginning to stretch across the land, hinting at the turmoil to come. Pharaoh Pepi II, Neferkare Pepi Setegidu, has reigned for an unprecedented 90 years, longer than any ruler before him. Yet, as his reign nears its end, the very foundations of Egypt are starting to crack. The pharaoh's authority weakens, regional leaders gain influence, and the life-giving Nile River becomes unpredictable, its floods erratic. It is within this unstable era that a remarkable figure, a mysterious doctor, emerges. His tomb was unearthed by a joint Swiss-French archaeological team near the ancient pyramids, a find shrouded in intrigue. Strangely, upon entering his burial chamber, they discovered it was empty. No mummified remains, no glittering gold treasures. The tomb had been ransacked centuries ago, its riches plundered. However, what remained proved far more captivating than any gold: the inscriptions and images adorning the walls. The paintings, remarkably vivid, with bright colors defying the passage of time, depict jars, containers, and enigmatic abstract and geometric designs. Hieroglyphs, lines of sacred script, meticulously carved as if the artist poured their very soul into each stroke, cover the walls. These inscriptions reveal the true identity of Teti Nebifu. He was not merely a doctor, but the conjurer of Serket. Serket Hetet, was the scorpion goddess, both revered and feared. The ancient Egyptians believed in her power to neutralize venom, heal stings, and protect the living from toxic threats. The title Conjurer of Serket signified that Teti Nebifu was a specialist in treating dangerous bites and stings. The fact that he possessed an entire tomb dedicated to him suggests he was the foremost expert in this field, a man who combined medicine and magic to heal. But there was more. He also held the title of Director of Medicinal Plants, a title almost unique in ancient Egyptian history. This meant he possessed unparalleled knowledge of the healing properties of herbs, roots, and oils. One might wonder what medicinal plants could thrive in a land dominated by sand. However, the ancient Egyptians were surprisingly adept at herbal medicine, utilizing techniques that would be recognized in modern laboratories. They created pills, ointments, and inhalers. They carefully selected active ingredients, added flavor to improve palatability, and devised methods for delivering these remedies into the body. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Of course, some of their ingredients might seem bizarre to us today. They sometimes use substances like crocodile dung and acacia mixed with honey. They even had formulas for anti-wrinkle creams. And, astonishingly, our mysterious healer was also the chief dentist. This title is exceedingly rare in ancient records. Evidence of dental practices in ancient Egypt is scarce. It seems our ancient genius not only battled venomous stings and studied plants, but he was also entrusted with the care of teeth and jaws, a significant problem in ancient Egypt. These pyramid builders suffered greatly with their teeth. The ever-present sand found its way into their mouths, and their diet, often consisting of grit-filled bread and raw vegetables, wore down tooth enamel, causing a condition known as attrition. This led to a host of dental problems, including tooth loss. They were forced to improvise. They created what is believed to be the world's oldest known toothpaste from crushed rock, mint, and pepper, a mixture that, ironically, likely irritated their gums further. Other toothpaste recipes included ingredients like eggshells, pumice, and natron, a salty mineral used for cleaning. They also invented mouthwashes made from celery, bran, and herbs to alleviate discomfort. Some mummies have even been discovered with crude metal braces and gold wires used to attach missing teeth, though it remains uncertain whether these were functional during life or simply added as adornments for the afterlife. Teti Nebifu specialized in all these fields, three exceptionally rare titles held by a single man. In his time, he must have been regarded as a figure of immense knowledge and skill. In a world devoid of modern science, he would have seemed like a sorcerer, possessing the secret knowledge of how a specific leaf or bark could save a life. This is why archaeologists believe Teti Nebifu was more than just an ordinary doctor. He was likely the royal physician, the one who tended to the pharaoh himself. We cannot be certain which pharaoh he served, but perhaps it was Peep II. And who knows, perhaps Teti Nebifu's skills contributed to the pharaoh's exceptionally long life. If this were the case, Teti Nebifu may have witnessed the final days of the Old Kingdom, watching the Golden Age crumble from within the palace walls. After his death, he was buried, his body either looted or lost to the ravages of time. But the archaeological team continues to study his tomb, diligently uncovering the remaining traces of this remarkable individual. Imagine a world long before our own, where ancient Egyptians walked the earth, their civilization a beacon of innovation. These weren't just pyramid builders. They were pioneers of medicine, practicing their art with a skill that seems almost unbelievable. They possessed hospitals, employed specialized doctors, performed complex surgeries, and even established medical schools, institutions where both men and women could learn the healing arts. Picture their operating rooms. Skilled hands wielded scalpels and forceps, meticulously closing wounds with sutures. Some physicians dedicated themselves solely to the eyes, others to the teeth, the stomach, or even those mysterious hidden diseases. They were masters of wound care, cleaning and dressing injuries with practiced ease. Broken bones? No problem. They expertly set them using splints crafted from wood or reeds, wrapped snugly in linen, and remarkably, they even understood the importance of preventing infection. And let's not forget the proctologists, tending to matters best left unmentioned. But their ingenuity didn't stop there. They were also creating the world's first prosthetics, crafting wooden toes with intricate leather straps, enabling individuals to walk with newfound grace. The oldest of these artificial wonders dates back 3,000 years, a testament to their enduring skill. Now, prepare to be astonished. These ancient healers even attempted to remove tumors. A recent study examined a 4,000-year-old skull, the cranium of a man in his 30s. Evidence of past tumors was clear, but around 3 of these growths were distinct marks. Surgical cuts made with a precise metal tool. This suggests a daring attempt to excise the tumors, perhaps for treatment or possibly for study during an autopsy. Another skull, belonging to a woman over 50, revealed similar signs, but with an added twist. Healed fractures from a previous injury. This hints at a potentially successful treatment, a remarkable achievement for the time. In this ancient society, a healer held a position of immense power, embodying the roles of priest, scientist, and magician all in one. To the ancient Egyptians, medicine was not merely a profession. It was a sacred art, treated with the same reverence they bestowed upon their gods. They believed that illness could be both physical and spiritual, so a doctor might recite an incantation while applying a healing salve. And surprisingly, many of their treatments were effective. The reputation of Egyptian doctors spread far and wide, so much so that leaders from distant lands like Persia sought their expertise. Even Homer, the renowned Greek poet, famously declared the Egyptians to be the most skilled healers of all. Of course, their understanding of the human body wasn't flawless. They mistakenly believed the heart controlled thought and emotion, and they remained largely ignorant of the brain's true function. Yet, their fundamental approach, observe symptoms, diagnose and treat, remains the bedrock of modern medicine. Sure, they might have offered a prayer over a wound, but they also knew how to heal it, didn't they? Their most celebrated physician was Imhotep. A true polymath, he excelled as an architect, priest, and healer, becoming so revered that he was later deified as the god of medicine. Imagine a human being so extraordinary that he was elevated to divine status. Imhotep lived 2 millennia before Hippocrates, the so-called father of medicine. Some even jest that we should abandon the Hippocratic oath and instead swear an Imhotepic oath. These ancient people weren't just constructing magnificent pyramids. They were laying the very foundation of healthcare. Now, let's shift our focus to a creature that roamed the earth millions of years ago. Envision an animal roughly the size of a husky, perhaps easily mistaken for one, were it not for its lack of fur and its status as a formidable predator. What truly sets this beast apart are its extraordinarily long, blade-like canine teeth. Prepare to meet one of the earliest known saber-toothed animals to have ever existed. This fearsome predator stalked the prehistoric world long before the age of dinosaurs. Scientists pieced together the description of this creature from fossils discovered on the Spanish island of Majorca in the Mediterranean Sea, dating back approximately 200 million years. A time when none of us were around. The very first true mammals emerged during this era, coexisting alongside the dinosaurs. But if we trace the mammalian family tree even further back, we encounter an ancient group known as therapsids. While they may not resemble the mammals we know today, they possessed several key features that would eventually come to define the class. For instance, therapsids had distinctive openings on the sides of their skulls to accommodate jaw muscles. Additionally, parts of their jawbones would eventually evolve into the tiny middle ear bones that all mammals, including ourselves, possess today. Now, consider what might be the oldest known therapsid fossil ever discovered. This fossil, as yet unnamed, belongs to a group called Gorgonopsians. These creatures are more closely related to mammals than they are to any other living animal. Some were as small as domestic cats, while others rivaled the size of polar bears. Gorgonopsians exhibited several mammal-like traits, including differentiated teeth for various functions. However, unlike mammals, these ancient predators continuously replaced their teeth, even their massive saber-like canines, throughout their lives. Imagine how useful that would be. Until recently, the oldest Gorgonopsian fossils known to science. Imagine traveling back 265 million years. Now, picture a fossil, a window into a world teeming with bizarre creatures. But hold on, because a discovery has just shattered previous records. This new fossil is even older, dating back a staggering 270 to 280 million years. The find is remarkably detailed, a treasure trove for paleontologists. We see before us the sharp, knife-like fangs, a chilling testament to its predatory nature. Part of its jaw, fragments of the spine, ribs, tailbones, and even toe bones are preserved. Miraculously, most of one of its back legs survived the ages. Although the skull is incomplete, scientists estimate it was around 7 inches long. The animal itself, about the size of a medium-large dog, tipping the scales at a hefty 66 to 88 pounds. But don't let the dog comparison fool you. This creature was far from canine. While it possessed some lizard-like traits, labeling it a lizard dog would be a gross misrepresentation. Mammals and reptiles share a distant ancestor, a common point in their evolutionary journey some 320 million years ago. However, their paths diverged long, long ago. Picture the world when this newly discovered creature roamed the earth. The island of Majorca, now a Mediterranean paradise, was then situated smack dab in the heart of the supercontinent Pangaea. This region experienced extreme shifts between torrential wet seasons and parched dry spells. For years, scientists have pondered whether pivotal moments in mammal evolution unfolded in tropical environments like this. But the fossil record was frustratingly incomplete. Now, with the unearthing of the oldest known Gorgonopsian in Majorca, the puzzle pieces are beginning to fall into place. It appears that monumental strides in mammal evolution may have occurred in these low-latitude environments, regions that have been largely overlooked in paleontological exploration. The so-called gap in the fossil record might simply be due to paleontologists searching in the wrong locations. But our Gorgonopsian hero wasn't the only fascinating creature strutting its stuff before the dinosaurs took center stage. More than 500 million years ago, the oceans were ruled by some of the strangest predators ever to exist. Their name? A bit of a tongue twister. Anomalocaris. Anomalocaris. It means, simply, unusual shrimp. But make no mistake, this creature bore little resemblance to any shrimp you'd find on your dinner plate. Scientists believe Anomalocaris was the first true apex predator, the orca of its time. Imagine this. Anomalocaris was massive for its era, growing up to 3 feet long, from its formidable grasping arms to the tips of its tail fins. For a while, trilobites were considered its primary prey. But new research reveals that Anomalocaris simply wasn't strong enough to crack open their armored shells. Instead, it was a swift, agile hunter with exceptional eyesight, preying on soft-bodied animals that darted through the open water. Now, let's shift our focus to another remarkable creature from the pre-dinosaur era. A fish that could walk on land. Tiktaalik, Tiktaalik rosea, inhabited marshy rivers that mirrored the Amazon rainforests of today. It could reach a length of up to 9 feet, ambushing prey in rivers and inlets like a modern-day freshwater crocodile. Tiktaalik possessed a flexible neck and even rudimentary lungs, enabling it to survive both in and out of the water. The question remains, why did fish like Tiktaalik begin venturing onto land around 395 million years ago? Around that time, the ancient supercontinent Gondwana was drifting closer to the landmass that would eventually become North America. This gradual movement created vast, shallow, swampy habitats, ideal environments for crocodile-like creatures to flourish. Moreover, these areas were located near the equator, ensuring a warm tropical climate. However, food sources on land were scarce. Perhaps these creatures sought refuge from predators or found safer locations to lay their eggs. Creatures initially adapted to living in open water, then shallow water, followed by marshes and riverbanks. Only after a protracted gradual transition did they finally make the complete leap onto land. And now, prepare yourself for a millipede the size of a small car, weighing as much as a large dog. This behemoth roamed the earth over 300 million years ago, in what is now England. Back then, during the Carboniferous period, Earth's atmosphere was supercharged with oxygen, exceeding 26% compared to today's 21%. Scientists initially believed that these elevated oxygen levels were solely responsible for the gigantism of these creatures. However, a recent fossil discovery from a period with oxygen levels closer to present day throws that theory into question. The discovery was purely accidental. A boulder fractured just right, revealing one of the most complete and largest giant millipede specimens ever unearthed. This particular millipede might have thrived not only in swampy areas, but also in open woodlands, feasting on seeds, nuts, and perhaps even small animals. There's even a possibility that this colossal creature wasn't a slow-moving herbivore, but a predator, snapping up anything it could catch. After dominating the planet for approximately 45 million years, the giant millipedes eventually disappeared. The likely culprits? The rise of the reptiles. Let's journey back to a time long before humanity, a time when bizarre and powerful creatures roamed the earth, paving the way for the age of the dinosaurs. Imagine a beast that's a terrifying blend of a polar bear and a saber-toothed cat. Such a creature actually existed. This apex predator dominated the southern ecosystems after an epic migration of over 7,000 meters across the supercontinent Pangaea roughly 252 million years ago. Picture this monster. Tough, rhino-like skin, offering incredible protection, and enormous canines designed for ripping massive chunks of flesh from its prey. And to top it off, it was an exceptional runner, capable of chasing down almost anything. Upon arriving in its new territory, what we now know as South Africa, this brute quickly displaced the existing local predators. It was a reign of terror, but a short one. As the Permian period drew to a close, Colossal volcanic eruptions unleashed catastrophic climate change, leading to the extinction of approximately 90% of all species on the planet. Top predators, typically large, slow-growing, and relatively rare, are often the first to disappear during such devastating extinction events. And so, our saber-toothed bear met its end, a victim of forces far beyond its control. Now, let's turn our attention to the skies, to a creature that dwarfs even the largest dragonflies of today. Picture a dragonfly with a wingspan exceeding 2 feet, 6 long, spiny legs, and massive, bulging eyes. This was Meganeura Monnier, a 4-winged giant and quite possibly the largest flying insect that ever lived. Like their modern relatives, Meganeura favored open areas near ponds and slow-moving streams. But unlike today's dragonflies, it wasn't just hunting tiny insects. This beast was likely the top aerial predator in its environment. Imagine it soaring through the air, using the spines on its legs as a living, flying trap to snatch prey right out of the sky. Its diet likely included other flying insects, small amphibians, and even lizard-like creatures. The first fossils of Meganeura were discovered in 1880 in the coal-rich rocks of France. The fossils were remarkably well preserved, showcasing the intricate vein patterns in their wings. Scientists believe that Meganeura grew to such an immense size due to a combination of factors: limited competition from vertebrate predators and a significantly higher concentration of oxygen in the atmosphere during the Carboniferous period. This oxygen-rich environment allowed insects to grow to sizes that are simply impossible today. Imagine, in the vast expanse of the Giza Plateau, a silent cemetery of ancient secrets. Here, archaeologists recently encountered something unexpected: a blank slate in the historical record, an untouched area devoid of any visible markings or ruins, a true enigma. For years, it remained undisturbed. Yet, between 2021 and 2023, a decision was made to peer beneath the surface, not with shovels, but with technology. Think of it as X-ray vision for the Earth. Ground-penetrating radar, a sophisticated tool, allowed scientists to unveil what lay hidden beneath the sands of time. And what they found was intriguing: a deliberately buried, forgotten structure composed of 2 distinct parts. The first, a shallow L-shaped formation, stretching approximately 33 feet in length, lay a mere 6.5 feet below the surface. But it was the second anomaly that truly captivated them. Located deeper, it presented a stark contrast to anything else in the vicinity. Termed a highly resistive anomaly, its density suggested a composition of stone, sand, or perhaps even metal. As of now, its true nature remains a mystery. The L-shaped structure, undeniably of human construction, hints at a possible entrance to the secrets below. But what lies within? Theories abound, yet concrete answers remain elusive. The space is filled with sand and gravel, suggesting a deliberate backfilling, perhaps to safeguard its contents. But preserve what, exactly? The archaeological team now faces the daunting task of excavation, the only path to understanding the structure's purpose and origins. One leading hypothesis points towards a lost burial chamber. While many tombs in Giza feature underground burial sites, they typically possess clear surface markers. This anomaly, however, lacks any such indication, adding to its mystique. Another possibility is an ancient offering chapel. While such chapels are known to exist, their traditional placement is above ground, not buried beneath it. Finally, there is the tantalizing prospect of discovering something entirely new. Should this prove to be a previously unknown type of structure, it could redefine our understanding of pharaonic burials. The only way to unravel the mystery is to dig. Excavations are now underway, a race against time to uncover the truth. But the fragility of Giza's ancient structures demands caution. Mishandling could cause irreparable damage, forever silencing the secrets they hold. For now, we must wait, watch, and hope that the truth will be revealed. These tombs, silent guardians of the past, are filled with captivating mysteries. But tragically, many of these secrets will forever remain beyond our grasp, victims of relentless tomb robbers. Egyptian tombs were designed as eternal resting places, but that didn't deter those who sought to plunder their valuable contents. For thousands of years, these sites have been targeted, their sanctity violated, beginning as far back as the pharaoh's own era. Many of the most famous tombs, including those at Giza, Saqqara, and the Valley of the Kings, bear the scars of looting. It was a widespread practice in ancient Egypt, executed with cunning and determination. Tomb robbers dug secret tunnels to bypass traps and walls. They bribed or threatened tomb workers for inside information. They cracked open sarcophagi, seizing gold, jewelry, and artifacts. By the time modern archaeologists arrived, many of these tombs had already been stripped bare. The pharaohs, understandably, grew weary of this relentless desecration. The Valley of the Kings, intended as the ultimate safe haven for Egyptian royalty, was supposed to be impenetrable. Tombs were constructed deep underground, concealed within the desolate landscape. Passages were sealed with massive stone blocks. False doors and cunning traps were implemented to confuse would-be thieves. Even curses were inscribed on the walls, warning of dire consequences for anyone who dared to disturb the tombs. These are the origins of our modern-day horror stories about mummies and their supposed wrath. But spoiler alert, none of it worked. Within a century of their sealing, most tombs in the Valley of the Kings had been thoroughly looted. Even the tomb of Tutankhamun, King Tut, one of the most famous in history, was breached twice in ancient times. Subsequent rulers attempted to adapt and overcome. The pharaohs of the New Kingdom constructed hidden, unmarked tombs, hoping to evade the looters' attention. It was to no avail. Some pharaohs, like Ramses III, were secretly relocated to prevent the theft of their remains. Still, it didn't matter. The grave robbers consistently prevailed. These weren't just random thieves. They were skilled, organized, and well-connected. They knew precisely where to look. Many were the very same individuals who had constructed the tombs in the first place, possessing intimate knowledge of their entrances and hidden passages. If they couldn't breach the doors, they tunneled through walls, floors, and even ceilings to gain access. They worked with incredible speed, often striking within just a few years of a tomb's ceiling, before the location of its treasures faded from memory. Even Khufu's pyramid, the grandest of them all, wasn't immune. Imagine journeying back in time to witness incredible archaeological discoveries. Recently, researchers unearthed an ancient Egyptian figurine adorned with a unique depiction of the deity associated with the sky, women, fertility, and love. What's astonishing is that the figurine's hair was meticulously crafted from nearly 4,000 individual mud beads. Elsewhere, in 2024, the discovery of an ancient Greek shrine yielded intact burials, a sarcophagus, and a wealth of gold artifacts. This shrine is believed to predate the year 300 CE. The marble lions found within were carved from the same marble used in the construction of the Parthenon in Athens, connecting these finds to a rich and storied past. Greece, a land brimming with ancient relics, is preparing to showcase approximately 300,000 artifacts in the new Thessaloniki subway system. Meanwhile, in France, archaeologists have stumbled upon a unique monument, unlike anything seen before. Its purpose remains a mystery, but it provides undeniable evidence of human habitation between the Neolithic and early Iron Age periods. The most remarkable feature is a structure composed of three distinct shapes that interlock like pieces of a puzzle. Traces of gravel suggest the presence of a wooden fence known as a palisade, possibly used for protection or decorative purposes. By meticulously analyzing the soil layers surrounding the monument, the team hopes to uncover more about its origins. The only tools discovered thus far are sharp flintstones, characteristic of the Neolithic period. The next critical step involves radiocarbon dating to accurately determine the site's age. Our journey then takes us to northwest China, near the edge of the Taklamakan Desert, where the oldest saddle ever found was recovered from a woman's grave. This incredible artifact, crafted from meticulously sewn pieces of leather and stuffed with straw and animal hair for comfort, offers a rare glimpse into ancient equestrian practices. Typically, organic materials like these decompose over time, but the arid climate of the Taklamakan Desert remarkably preserved the saddle. The herdsman, a woman, was buried in her full riding attire, challenging conventional assumptions about who participated in herding and travel. Now, let's cross the globe to Guatemala, where an exquisite jade mask, crafted by the ancient Maya civilization, lay hidden for centuries. Through radiocarbon dating, scientists are working to determine the mask's precise age. It is believed that the mask portrays a Maya storm deity, a powerful figure within their mythology. Such masks were commonly created to honor Maya royalty and were placed within the tombs of kings and queens upon their burial. The king's tomb was also adorned with intricate carvings fashioned using tools made from volcanic obsidian. After 15 years of persistent searching, scientists may have finally pinpointed the origin of Stonehenge's altar stone. By comparing the minute minerals within the altar stone to rocks from various locations in Wales and England, they methodically eliminated numerous possibilities. Ultimately, they discovered a perfect match with a site in Scotland, located over 466 miles from Stonehenge. This area might even be Orkin, a group of islands in the far northeast of Scotland, a region of significant activity during the Neolithic period. The pressing question now is how these ancient people managed to transport such a massive stone across such a vast distance. The altar stone measures over 16 feet in length and weighs more than 6 tons. The prevailing theory suggests that they utilized boats to transport it along the coastline and rivers. Once closer to Stonehenge, they likely dragged it across the land using wooden sleds, ropes, and a great deal of coordinated effort. In northern France, the construction of a new house unexpectedly unearthed an ancient home. This turned out to be a luxurious urban dwelling for the elite, dating back to the 2nd century CE. Although the interior of the house was ravaged by fire, beneath the layer of destruction lay remarkably preserved, life-sized fresco paintings. Meanwhile, in Turkey, archaeologists unearthed the arm and foot bones of elephants that roamed the region approximately 9 million years ago. They also discovered fossils of early horses, giraffes, and even saber-toothed cats, Smilodon. To date, they have identified 43 distinct animal species from this site and amassed a collection of over 4,000 fossils. Another remarkable find from Turkey is a 64,000-year-old workshop located within a cave. Evidence suggests that this workshop was in continuous use for an astounding 24,000 years. Inside, archaeologists discovered various tools, including flakes and blades, all manufactured within the cave itself. Finally, in eastern Turkey, a farmer inadvertently unearthed a 1,000-square-foot mosaic dating back to the late Roman or early Byzantine period, buried just beneath the surface. Experts describe it as a unique find for the region, remarkable for remaining intact after so many centuries. The mosaic depicts a diverse array of trees, plants, and animals that once thrived in ancient Turkey, suggesting that more treasures may still lie hidden beneath the soil. The team continues their painstaking work, hoping to unearth more secrets from this ancient site. Now, let's journey to Sicily, where archaeologists have stumbled upon a vast thermal complex, a relic of a bygone era. Within its walls, they unearthed 2 chambers adorned with vibrant mosaic floors, masterpieces of ancient artistry. A grand courtyard, embraced by arched wings, hinted at the opulence that once defined this place. As the archaeologists delved deeper, the ancient city began to reveal itself. New roads emerged from the earth alongside the skeletal remains of a sprawling complex. Sections of weathered stone walls, once the city's formidable fortifications, stood as silent witnesses to history. These remarkable discoveries allow us to envision the city as it once was, a bustling hub of life and activity in ancient times. The question remains, was this bathhouse a creation of the Greeks or the Romans? Both civilizations left their indelible mark on Sicily. Hold on, big news. Santa Claus might have been a real person, and he looked different than we imagined. A recently discovered tomb may hold the key, offering compelling evidence that St. Nicholas, the generous gift-giver, was indeed a historical figure of Turkish origin. Forget the North Pole. This St. Nick was a kind bishop from the 4th century, famed for his acts of charity. Legend paints him as a wealthy man, born in the ancient city of Patara, modern-day Turkey, who dedicated his life to aiding the poor and the sick. Yet for centuries, his very existence remained shrouded in doubt. Historical accounts placed his burial in Myra, now Demre, Turkey. Since the 1980s, archaeologists have meticulously excavated this region, driven by the hope of confirming the legend. And now, their Christmas miracle may have arrived. After excavating 6 feet into an annex of St. Nicholas's Church, they unearthed a mysterious limestone tomb, roughly 2 meters in length. While confident that this is the final resting place of St. Nick, they continue to search for an inscription that will definitively confirm its age. Now, turning to the fictional Santa Claus, legend places his home in Lapland, Finland. Back in 2018, an intriguing discovery offered a glimmer of hope that even this Santa might have a basis in reality. At a site called Tiny Arrow, archaeologists unearthed approximately 200 burial pits. But what lay within was unexpected. There were no human remains, no sign of Santa himself. Instead, they found pottery shards and animal bones. The true purpose of this site remains a mystery. Contrast this with the experience of another team of archaeologists working in the ancient city of Petra, Jordan. Since 2003, whispers had circulated about hidden chambers beneath Al-Khazne, the iconic monument also known as the Treasury. 21 years later, a dedicated team finally decided to excavate, and they uncovered an intact tomb. Inside, they found the skeletal remains of at least 12 individuals, along with artifacts estimated to be over 2,000 years old. Hundreds of thousands of tourists flock to Al-Khazne each year, many drawn by its appearance as the site of the Holy Grail in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The ironic twist? One of the skeletons in the tomb was clutching a ceramic chalice remarkably similar to the Holy Grail itself. We all remember the devastating fire that engulfed Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris back in 2019. This tragedy necessitated the restructuring of the iconic building, originally constructed between the 12th and 13th centuries. But for archaeologists, it presented a unique opportunity to delve into the site's hidden history. The team was limited to excavating only about 16 inches beneath the floor, but that proved sufficient. Almost immediately after removing the floor tiles and clearing a thin layer of dirt, they spotted the top of a lead coffin. Further excavation revealed limestone sculptures, including life-sized heads and torsos. In total, they unearthed over 1,000 fragments of various works of art. Ancient statues have been found in the most unexpected places, even in a sewer. In July 2024, Bulgarian archaeologists were inspecting a Roman sewer in the ancient city of Heraclea Sintica when they made an incredible discovery. A nearly 7-foot-tall marble statue of Hermes, the Greek messenger deity. This city was ravaged and ultimately abandoned after 2 devastating earthquakes, one in the year 388 and another in 425. Yet miraculously, the statue survived. Its head was found in remarkably good condition. While discovering ancient artwork is undeniably fascinating, imagine stumbling upon an entire hidden city within the Amazon rainforest. Using cutting-edge laser technology, researchers have uncovered a lost civilization complete with thousands of structures and an intricate network of roads, canals, and houses, all concealed beneath the dense jungle canopy. This city was constructed approximately 2,500 years ago. Imagine a lost civilization, nestled in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, existing in the very shadow of a towering volcano. That volcano, a silent, looming presence, could have unleashed its fury at any moment, burying their world in ash and fire. We can only speculate about the size of this ancient community, but archaeological experts believe they thrived there for perhaps a millennium. This remarkable discovery is undeniable proof that even in the depths of the Amazon, sophisticated and well-organized cities once flourished. A similar revelation occurred far to the north, in Campeche, southern Mexico. Picture this: an archaeologist, diligently sifting through online data, stumbles upon what appears to be a previously unknown Mayan city. This sprawling urban center, now christened Valorana, rivaled the size of Edinburgh, Scotland's capital. Before us rise pyramids, silent witnesses to forgotten rituals. We see the outlines of ancient sports fields where long-dead athletes once competed. Amphitheaters echo with the ghosts of voices. Stone pathways, now overgrown, once connected the city's various districts. Thanks to the power of satellite imagery, we are granted a glimpse into an entire Bronze Age civilization, lost to time. Consider another scene, researchers scrutinizing aerial photographs, their eyes scanning the landscape. Suddenly, they identify over 100 prehistoric settlements dotting the Pannonian Plain, a region encompassing parts of modern-day Serbia and Hungary. These people, now known as the Tita Site Group, appear to have been a remarkably organized society, skilled in the arts of agriculture, hunting, and fishing. Now, let's journey to Saudi Arabia. Here, thanks to the eagle-eyed perspective of Google Earth, a team has unearthed a perplexing network of roughly 400 ancient stone structures, dubbed gates. Scattered across the arid desert landscape, these enigmatic formations are believed to be thousands of years old. Constructed from stone and arranged in bizarre patterns, they defy easy explanation. They bear no resemblance to burial sites, nor do they appear to be residential structures. Their true purpose remains shrouded in mystery, a puzzle that archaeologists continue to grapple with. Technology is revolutionizing the field of archaeology, unlocking secrets previously thought lost forever. Take, for example, the story of the Herculaneum scrolls. Discovered in 1752 by workers excavating the ancient Roman town of Herculaneum, near Pompeii, these scrolls were in such a fragile and damaged state that they were deemed unreadable for centuries. But now, imagine the possibilities as artificial intelligence steps in. Thanks to AI and a cool $1 million prize, we finally deciphered portions of these invaluable texts. Early analysis suggests that at least one of these scrolls was penned by a philosopher who placed immense value on earthly pleasures, such as music and fine cuisine. Let's turn our attention to Stonehenge, that iconic monument standing proudly in the English countryside. For generations it has stood defiant, an enigma etched in stone, fueling speculation and wonder. Some theories, bordering on the fantastical, even suggest extraterrestrial involvement in its construction. After more than a century of intensive investigation, archaeologists are still piecing together the puzzle of its origins. Consider the massive altar stone positioned at its heart. Astonishingly, this colossal slab of sandstone, weighing over 6 tons, originated all the way in Scotland. Picture the scene over 4,000 years ago. The builders of Stonehenge, lacking the convenience of wheels or modern machinery, somehow transported this immense stone across vast distances. Our quest for ancient secrets leads us beneath the waves, into the ocean's depths. In 2013, a mysterious shipwreck was discovered just 20 feet below the surface, off the coast of Kenya. Its origins were initially unknown, but now researchers believe they may have identified it as belonging to the fleet of Vasco da Gama, the famed Portuguese explorer who pioneered the sea route from Europe to India around Africa's Cape of Good Hope. If confirmed, this wreck would represent one of the earliest European shipwrecks ever discovered in the Indian Ocean. Ancient treasures come in many forms, sometimes even disguised as a simple bottle. Recently in Norway, archaeologists unearthed a 150-year-old message in a bottle during the excavation of a Viking burial mound. The bottle contained a letter penned by Anders Lorange, an archaeologist who worked on the very same site in the 1800s. Along with his business card and a few coins wrapped in paper, the letter offered insights into the excavation, though it appears Lorange's recollections were not entirely accurate, as he miscounted the number of Viking shields discovered. But then, at the letter's conclusion, a personal note appears, etched in runic script. Emma Gade, my girlfriend. A poignant glimpse into history, and a peek into a long-lost romance. Strange and wondrous artifacts are constantly being unearthed, challenging our understanding of the past. Piecing together the lives and motivations of our ancestors is an arduous task, especially when all we have to work with are fragments of pottery, faded cave paintings, or enigmatic stone structures. It's no surprise that even seasoned experts, armed with the latest scientific tools, occasionally make mistakes. But it's not just about dusty plates and huge stones. Sometimes there is even humans with large heads. So, grab your metaphorical digging tools, and let's embark on a journey back through time to explore the incredible societies that continue to baffle and intrigue even the most brilliant minds. Sardinia, with its sun-kissed shores and tranquil beauty, may seem idyllic today. But let's be honest, Would you fancy a visit 3,000 years ago? Legend has it that fearsome giants once roamed this island. Tales persist of the discovery of enormous human skeletons. Imagine a remote island, shrouded in mystery, where legends whisper of giants. We're not talking fairy tales here. We're talking about tangible artifacts that make you question everything. In 1974, something strange happened on this island. Over 5,000 fragments of intricately carved stone were unearthed in a region called Monte Prama. Instead of being proudly displayed for the world to see, these pieces were hidden away, locked in an underground vault for 3 decades. Suspicious, isn't it? Then, in 2005, the truth finally emerged. Scientists painstakingly pieced together the fragments, revealing statues of 38 colossal figures, each standing 8 feet tall. While not quite the legendary giants of local folklore, these statues are undeniably imposing. These massive sculptures are believed to be the work of the ancient Nuragic people who once called this island home. But their ambition didn't stop at statues. These people constructed over 8,000 monumental stone structures. Perhaps the Nuragic weren't giants themselves, but they clearly had a penchant for the colossal. Now, let's shift our focus. We, with our modern intellect, might assume we're the pinnacle of intelligence. But what if there were others, even more brilliant, who walked the earth before us? Since 1913, fossilized skull fragments discovered in South Africa have hinted at the existence of a potentially superior intellect, the so-called Boskop man. This hominid species may have lived as recently as 10,000 years ago. The size of their skulls suggests a significantly larger brain capacity, potentially 30% greater than our own. Imagine the possibilities. Their estimated average IQ could have been around 149, placing them in the top 0.05% of the smartest individuals alive today. But a question arises. If the Boscopoids were so intellectually gifted, why did they vanish while we thrived? The answer might lie in the complexities of brain structure. Our brains, while not the largest, possess a highly developed prefrontal cortex. This region is vital for advanced cognitive functions like decision-making, short-term memory, and self-awareness. Perhaps the Boscopoids, with their massive brains, were too focused on abstract thought and lacked the practical skills necessary for survival, such as hunting. Of course, this is all speculation. The fate of these intelligent cousins remains a mystery. Some researchers even argue that the Boscopoids were simply a variation within our own species, their distinct features exaggerated by fragmented fossil evidence. Now let's plunge into the depths of the Amazon rainforest. This vast green expanse is home to approximately 30% of the world's plant and animal species, a biodiversity hotspot unlike any other. Yet the history of its human inhabitants is filled with unanswered questions. The Kasarabi people, a mysterious civilization, thrived here for centuries before mysteriously disappearing around 1400 AD. For a long time, it was believed that the Amazon was only inhabited by scattered tribes. However, recent discoveries have shattered this notion. Enormous geometric earthworks, known as geoglyphs, have been unearthed across the region. At first glance, they might appear as simple ditches, but they are, in fact, the remnants of a sprawling civilization that once stretched over 5,000 square miles, encompassing approximately 450 distinct markings. Some of these geoglyphs are truly massive, spanning up to 2,300 feet in width. These structures likely served as ceremonial centers and could have supported a population of up to 1 million people as recently as 550 years ago. Cutting-edge technologies, such as LiDAR, light detection, and ranging, are revolutionizing our understanding of this lost world. LiDAR uses lasers to map the forest floor without disturbing the delicate ecosystem. In 2019, LiDAR scans revealed an intricate network of raised roads, pathways, and even towering pyramids, reaching heights of over 70 feet. Researchers identified 26 distinct settlements, with 2 of them covering at least 250 acres each. That's equivalent to 330 soccer fields. The reasons for the Kasarabi's decline remain unclear. Perhaps they succumbed to diseases introduced by European conquistadors, or maybe they were driven out by invading forces. Finally, let's consider the most enigmatic civilization, Of all, Atlantis. This legendary city, said to have vanished beneath the waves, has captivated imaginations for centuries. The earliest accounts of Atlantis come from the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, who described a magnificent city located near the Strait of Gibraltar. For centuries, Atlantis was dismissed as a mere allegory, a utopian society created by Plato to illustrate his philosophical ideals. So, why, some 12,000 years after its supposed demise, does the legend of Atlantis persist? In the 19th century, U.S. Congressman Ignatius Donnelly published a book outlining 13 reasons why he believed Atlantis was more than just a myth. Then, in 1965, some believed they had finally discovered Atlantis in the form of the Richet structure, a massive 25-mile-wide dome located in Mauritania, Africa. Its immense size is so staggering that it can be seen from space. Astronauts orbiting Earth were captivated by this giant eye staring back at them from the Sahara Desert, believing they had stumbled upon the discovery of a lifetime. Sadly, no conclusive evidence has ever linked this geological formation to the lost city of Atlantis. Let's journey back to a time when the Earth was still young, a mere 100 million years ago. Imagine a landscape sculpted by fire and fury, where volcanic activity reigned supreme. Here, a peculiar formation rises from the Earth, its origins shrouded in mystery. It looks suspicious, doesn't it? A silent sentinel guarding secrets of a forgotten age. But the truth remains elusive, hidden beneath layers of time and geological intrigue. Now, let's shift our focus, traveling to South Asia around 3300 BCE. Prepare to be amazed by the Harappan civilization, a society that was remarkably ahead of its time. Envision bustling cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, architectural marvels built with precision and foresight. Picture houses crafted from baked brick, intricate drainage systems ensuring sanitation, and even public baths for communal well-being. This region teemed with life, potentially housing over 5 million inhabitants, making it one of the most densely populated areas of the ancient world. These ingenious people also devised a system of standardized weights, a crucial tool for facilitating trade and commerce. And trade they did. Their influence extended far and wide, forging connections with distant lands as far as the Middle East, thanks to their mastery of metallurgy. They even employed a form of ancient branding, using seals to stamp clay on trade goods, ensuring authenticity and quality. Despite their advanced urban lifestyle, a veil of mystery still shrouds their language and script. Fragments of their writing have survived the ages, yet remain undeciphered, defying even the most sophisticated technology of our modern era. The inner workings of their society also remain enigmatic. Unlike other civilizations, they seem to downplay displays of social status. No grandiose palaces or colossal monuments dominated the landscape. Instead, their largest structures may have been granaries, emphasizing practicality and resource management. Alas, the glory of the Harappan civilization was not destined to last forever. Around 1800 BCE, this thriving society began its decline, possibly triggered by shifts in river patterns. As the environment underwent dramatic changes, the Harappans were forced to adapt, migrating towards more hospitable regions in search of survival. Have you ever heard the chilling tale of the Minotaur? A monstrous creature with the head of a bull and the body of a man, lurking within a vast and intricate labyrinth, preying on the unwary. This isn't just a simple story. It was a cultural phenomenon, a dramatic narrative that resonated deeply with the ancient world. And its roots lie in the island of Crete. Here, during the Bronze Age, the Minoans flourished, leaving behind a legacy of stunning palaces, vibrant frescoes, and a culture so rich and captivating that it continues to fascinate historians to this very day. Imagine the grandeur of Knossos, a palace complex so intricate with its multi-story buildings and elaborate hallways that it may have inspired the myth of the labyrinth itself. Their engineering prowess was truly remarkable, with drainage systems far surpassing those of many modern societies. Imagine a forgotten chamber hidden beneath the sands of Egypt for millennia. Now picture the scene. Next to this astonishing discovery lies another structure, already plundered, not just recently, but long ago. When modern explorers finally arrived, they found only a stark reminder of what had been. An empty granite box, the sarcophagus itself long gone. The tragedy extends far beyond the loss of gold and jewels. It's history itself that's been stolen. The ancient Egyptians meticulously documented their burial practices, recording precisely what was interred and where. Archaeologists painstakingly compare these ancient lists with what is actually found, revealing the devastating extent of the looting. Often, everything of value is missing. Where do these treasures go? Sadly, the vast majority never see the light of a museum display. Instead, they vanish into the shadows of private collections, forever lost to scholarly study. This injustice has spurred some nations to action. Italy, for example, now demands that owners of ancient Roman artifacts prove their legal acquisition. China is aggressively pursuing the recovery of stolen artifacts, seeking their return from Western collectors. And in Egypt, sweeping new laws have made it illegal for private citizens to possess any ancient Egyptian artifacts whatsoever. But other nations, the US, the UK, Germany, Switzerland, remain comfortable with the wealthy hoarding history. The very foundations of the British Museum, for instance, are built upon the spoils of empire. European powers once swept across the globe, claiming whatever they desired. Their museums are often overflowing with these stolen artifacts, and unfortunately, they are often unwilling to relinquish them. Consider the Rosetta Stone. Seized from Egypt by Napoleon's army, it was then snatched by the British after their victory. For years, Egypt has pleaded for its return, but to no avail, or take the Parthenon marbles. These breathtaking sculptures were ripped from the Parthenon in Athens by a British lord in the 19th century. Greece has been begging for their repatriation ever since, but the UK remains unmoved. And let's not forget the countless Mesoamerican artifacts languishing in museums worldwide. European explorers ransacked Mayan and Aztec temples, seizing statues, jewelry, and sacred objects, prompting Mexico's ongoing battle for their return. So, what if this newly discovered underground chamber has already fallen victim to looters? Could it be that even this pristine place has been raided? But what if, against all odds, it is one of the few to have escaped the clutches of grave robbers? Imagine the possibility. Ancient artifacts untouched for 4,500 years. We can only hope that the looters haven't reached it first. The truth is, most ancient tombs have been ransacked at least once. Despite chilling rumors and ancient curses, most mummies have been unwrapped and disturbed. But there is one exception, the Bashiri mummy. It presents such a unique puzzle that nobody dares to disturb it and risk what might happen. Enter Howard Carter. If you're fascinated by Egyptian history, you're likely familiar with his name. He achieved enduring fame for his groundbreaking discovery of King Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922. However, few know that before this, he may have stumbled upon another, equally significant mummy. This occurred in 1919, and it's known by several names: the Bashiri mummy, the mummy of Pacheri, or even the untouchable one. Some accounts suggest that Carter unearthed the Bashiri mummy in Luxor's Valley of the Kings, in the very same area where he would later uncover Tutankhamun's tomb. Despite this intriguing find, relatively little is definitively known about this particular mummy. The reason it remains undisturbed isn't due to superstition, but rather a profound uncertainty about the consequences of interfering with it. The mummy is wrapped with such extraordinary intricacy that researchers have hesitated to unwrap it, fearing irreversible damage. A guiding principle for anyone working with antiquities is, if you're unsure whether you can improve it or preserve it unchanged, do not touch it. History is rife with examples of ancient relics damaged beyond repair by well-intentioned but ultimately disastrous interventions. The delicate fabric covering the mummy's face features a striking design that resembles a pyramid. Researchers believe that this embalming style may be unique, but without knowledge of the specific ancient techniques employed, unwrapping and rewrapping the mummy without causing irreparable harm is virtually impossible. In the past, both experts and looters alike unwrapped mummies for various reasons, primarily for study. Fortunately, Modern technology now allows us to examine the contents of sarcophagi without disturbing the wrappings. After conducting a detailed examination of the Bashiri mummy, researchers determined that it belonged to a man who stood approximately 5.5 feet tall and lived during the Ptolemaic era, making the mummy roughly 2,300 years old. The Egyptian Museum revealed that X-ray scans had also uncovered an inscription revealing the man's name. Imagine stepping back in time to ancient Egypt, where secrets lie buried beneath the sands. We find ourselves peering into the mysteries surrounding mummies, those preserved figures of pharaohs and nobles, their stories etched in time. There's the enigmatic case of the Bashiri mummy. Is it Pacheri or Nen? The inscription remains a puzzle, adding to the allure. The museum display showcases a beautifully decorated casing, a visual narrative of the afterlife. Picture the mummy resting peacefully, watched over by the deities Isis and Nephthys. The four sons of Horus stand guard, while two images of the funerary god Anubis watch over the feet. But Bashiri isn't alone in his undisturbed slumber. Consider Sakeb, another mummy left untouched by the decision of French archaeologist Gaston Maspero. He chose to respect her eternal rest, impressed by her remarkable state of preservation. Though her tomb had been raided centuries ago, modern science offered a glimpse beneath the wrappings. X-rays revealed amulets nestled around her neck, right arm, and forehead, artifacts accompanying her into the afterlife. The scans also hinted at earthly ailments, dental issues, and arthritis in her knees. She lived a long life, her exact age shrouded in mystery. Yet records from her son's reign confirm her esteemed position within the kingdom. Isetemkept, the sister wife of Pinimnus II, held a unique role. Theirs was a marriage of siblings, a practice common in those times, aimed at preserving the purity of the royal bloodline. A stark contrast to the ill-fated Habsburgs, whose obsession with purity led to inbreeding and the infamous Habsburg jaw. Perhaps it's best not to judge the morals of ancient Egyptians, but one thing is certain. Both Bashiri and Isetemkept were fortunate to remain undisturbed. King Tutankhamun, however, faced a different fate. Researchers descended upon his tomb, eager to unlock its secrets. Discovered in 1922, it wasn't until 1925 that the nested coffins were opened, revealing layers of history. The outer coffin, secured with silver pins, gave way to a mummy-shaped coffin adorned with vibrant glass and floral garlands. Concerns arose about the king's mummy, exposed to the ravages of moisture. The middle coffin, heavy and handleless, demanded extreme care in its removal. Inside lay the innermost coffin, crafted from solid gold and draped in a red cloth, cradling the royal mummy. This momentous event occurred on October 28, 1925. Tutankhamun's mummy, measuring approximately 6.07 feet, fits snugly within the 6.17-foot-long innermost coffin. A challenge was immediately apparent, extracting something so fragile from such a confined space. Imagine the delicate task of removing an ancient, dried-up mummy from its golden sarcophagus, with barely any room to maneuver. And the mummy's appearance raised concerns. It was pitch black. Howard Carter, the expedition's lead archaeologist, estimated that nearly 2 buckets of oils had been poured over the mummy, carefully avoiding the mask and feet in an attempt at preservation. The body lay at a slight angle, with an uneven distribution of dark oils, hinting that the coffin may have tilted during its descent into the sarcophagus. Over time, the oil created moisture within the coffins, triggering a chemical reaction that Carter described as a slow, spontaneous combustion, leading to the carbonization of the linen wrappings. The combination of heat and moisture wreaked havoc on the mummy's adornments. The crook and flail crumbled, the resin scarab cracked, and the threads holding the hands and mummy's bands began to decay, rendering everything incredibly fragile. Years of accumulated oils hardened, effectively gluing the mummy and mask to the bottom of the coffin. In an attempt to separate them, the inner and middle coffins were exposed to the scorching desert sun for hours, reaching temperatures of 149 degrees. Yet, the mummy remained stubbornly stuck. The initial examination had to be conducted in situ, right there within the coffin. The researchers began their examination from the bottom up, starting with Tutankhamun's lower legs and feet. As they carefully peeled back the bandages, they unearthed the first of many treasures interred with the king. They meticulously documented and photographed each artifact. The inner layers of bandages were in poor condition, reduced to dust, making it difficult to reconstruct the original wrapping technique. Despite the challenges, the overall methods aligned with those used for other noble mummies of the era. Folded linen pads shaped the torso and thighs. The outer and inner bandages were crafted from fine linen, while the middle layers, the wrappings meticulously applied, were notably coarse. Around the shoulders and chest, intricate bandaging was evident, echoing a similar style around the groin. Imagine the care taken, even in death. Each limb, along with individual fingers and toes, was separately encased, fitted with delicate gold caps. Tutankhamun, even in his eternal slumber, wore gold foil sandals upon his feet. The initial hope was to gently separate the mummy from its gilded coffin by carefully removing the outer layers of bandages. But fate, or perhaps ancient resins, had other plans. The body was irrevocably stuck to the coffin's base. So, the researchers faced a grim choice. Chiseling was the only option. To accomplish this, a heartbreaking decision was made. The torso had to be severed at the hips, and the arms disarticulated to allow for further unwrapping. Each precious fragment was then treated with hot paraffin wax, a desperate attempt to maintain stability. Later, the hands and feet were painstakingly reattached using resin. Finally, with heavy hearts, they employed heated knives to detach the head from its iconic golden mask. To examine the pharaoh's teeth, an incision was deemed necessary around the jaw and neck. This too was later repaired with resin. Technically, the scientists did everything within their power to preserve the mummy, employing the best techniques available at the time. But still, in a way, it ended up being damaged beyond repair. A tragic paradox. What do you think? Should they have left the boy king undisturbed within his coffin? Or did they make the right, albeit painful, choice in the name of science and history? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, prepare to have your perception of ancient Egypt completely reshaped. I bet you didn't know that trees, lush, living trees, used to flourish in the middle of Egypt's desolate, sun-baked Sinai desert. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? But it's true. If you're struggling to picture it, you're not alone. But archaeologists have recently unearthed something extraordinary. A tree-lined boulevard. Yes, an actual green avenue, a vibrant pathway leading to a massive ancient fortress. This isn't a mirage, nor is it some flight of fancy. This incredible discovery is turning our understanding of ancient Egyptian desert life completely upside down. Let's journey back in time. The site in question is called Tel Habua, Tel El Her, located in the northern reaches of the Sinai Peninsula. For many years, it was relegated to a dusty archaeological footnote, known only as the home of ruins from the Ptolemaic and Roman periods. This was the era after Alexander the Great marched triumphantly through Egypt, and the Roman Empire subsequently claimed it as their own. But recently, Egypt's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities decided to launch a new excavation, and what they unearthed proved to be far more than just a forgotten outpost. We're talking about a fully realized military fortress, complete with defensive trenches, meticulously paved roads, lime kilns, barracks to house soldiers, and even accommodations for their families. Imagine a thriving community, living and working right in the heart of the unforgiving desert. It might not sound very inviting until you remember our star attraction, the unexpected Green Avenue. This remarkable road stretched over 300 feet in length and spanned 36 feet in width, roughly the length of an American football field. It was meticulously paved with limestone slabs and lined with over 500 carefully constructed clay planting pits. These weren't merely decorative, they once held actual trees, creating a shaded, tree-lined entrance leading directly to the fortress. Imagine walking through that gateway. The sun blazes mercilessly overhead, beating down on the sand. Then, suddenly, you enter the blessed shade of the trees. Relief washes over you. It's not just a grand entrance. It's an ancient red carpet, or perhaps a vibrant green one. But this wasn't about aesthetics. The existence of hundreds of trees in such a harsh desert landscape, dating back over 2,000 years, tells us something profound. The Ptolemaic Egyptians weren't simply skilled builders of monumental structures. They were also masters of water management, true engineers of their environment. In a region where rainfall is scarcer than finding a selfie with a pharaoh, they somehow devised a way to cultivate rows upon rows of trees. Let that sink in for a moment. To irrigate that many trees in the middle of a desert, they must have possessed a sophisticated irrigation or water transport system, something capable of efficiently moving and distributing water in this incredibly challenging climate. Perhaps they tapped into hidden groundwater sources. Or maybe they ingeniously captured seasonal rainfall. Or, dare we imagine, could they have even developed ancient sprinkler systems? Okay, perhaps that's a bit too fantastical. But still, it's clear that they were far ahead of their time. Here's the crucial point. We already know that the ancient Egyptians were experts in water control. They harnessed the power of the Nile River, using a complex network of ditches and canals to nourish distant fields. Irrigation wasn't a mystery to them. They possessed both the skills and the knowledge. Of course, scientists continue to debate the exact nature of the Sinai climate 2,000 years ago. But many experts believe that it may have once been significantly greener than it is today. After all, one glance at the dramatic mountains and rugged landscapes, shaped and sculpted as if by the brute force of ancient rivers, makes it difficult not to imagine that water once played a far more prominent role in this region. Furthermore, archaeologists have unearthed abundant evidence indicating that Ptolemaic Egyptians cultivated fruits, vines, and trees on a grand scale. In other words, cultivating a forest in the middle of the desert might seem like an impossible feat to us, but to them, it was simply another Tuesday. Now, this remarkable green avenue is prompting archaeologists to reconsider long-held assumptions. What if similar irrigation systems were employed elsewhere? Could they have been used, for example, to facilitate the transportation of the enormous stones required to build the pyramids? There's already a compelling theory suggesting that ancient rivers, or perhaps human-made canals, aided in the movement of these colossal blocks. The Tel Habua discovery may just lend further weight to that idea. Imagine stepping back in time, not just decades or centuries, but millennia. Rivers weren't just geographical features. They were the lifeblood of ancient civilizations. Think of them as the superhighways, the power grids, and the freight trains all rolled into one colossal natural system. In ancient Egypt, the Nile and its tributaries were everything. They irrigated the fields, allowing for bountiful harvests. They facilitated trade, moving goods from one end of the kingdom to the other. They powered industries and even mobilized armies for war. If something was crucial, odds are a river was involved. But the story deepens. Picture this. Archaeologists unearthing deep defensive trenches, like ancient moats, surrounding a fortress. These weren't mere ditches filled with mud. No, these were sophisticated components of an elaborate defense system designed to be flooded or bridged at will, controlling access with strategic precision. Envision ancient Egypt's version of a modern retractable security gate, just without the benefit of hydraulics. And while these trenches served to keep unwanted visitors out, life inside the fortress walls was anything but stagnant. Remember those military housing units discovered by the archaeological teams? It appears that soldiers may have lived there with their families. This wasn't simply a military barracks. It was a vibrant, thriving community. We can imagine meals being prepared, daily routines unfolding, children playing games, and, undoubtedly, plenty of ancient gossip swirling around the dinner tables. Adding to the complexity, researchers unearthed 4 massive lime kilns, structures used to produce quicklime, a vital ingredient in construction mortar. These kilns are significant because they suggest that, during the later Roman period, the site, known as Tele Busifi, transformed into a bustling industrial center. It was like the Home Depot of ancient Egypt, churning out the raw materials needed to construct and repair buildings across the region. But here's where the plot truly thickens. Beneath all of this, underneath the roads, the trenches, the kilns, archaeologists discovered the corners of an even older structure, a mysterious building whose purpose remains unknown. Could it be the remains of a third, even more ancient fortress? Or perhaps an ancient cemetery? Or even a lost city swallowed by the sands of time? As of now, nobody knows for sure. One thing is certain. This story is far from over. In fact, it might be one of the most intriguing archaeological cliffhangers of the decade. So, what does all of this mean? Well, for starters, it challenges long-held assumptions about desert life in ancient Egypt. For centuries, deserts have been perceived as natural barriers, arid, unforgiving, and largely empty landscapes. But this discovery suggests that the desert might have once been far more verdant and teeming with life. Not necessarily because the climate was drastically different, but because the ancient Egyptians were masters at adapting to and manipulating their environment. They didn't just survive in the desert, they actively transformed it. This also adds fuel to the ongoing debate about ancient Egyptian technology. If they could construct a fortress complete with tree-lined roads, moats, irrigation systems, and a thriving industrial complex in the middle of the desert, is it really so far-fetched to imagine that they could engineer water channels to transport massive pyramid stones? Forget the Ancient Aliens television show. Sure, it can be entertaining, but it often obscures a fundamental truth. These ancient people were incredibly intelligent and resourceful. Much of what we consider modern technology is, in fact, a reimagining of ancient ingenuity. And who knows how much knowledge has been lost to the ravages of time. Meanwhile, the excavation continues. Scientists are meticulously mapping the entire Talibu Sifi site, attempting to piece together how all the various structures connect and interact. Some researchers are analyzing soil samples, hoping to find traces of ancient tree roots, and perhaps even identify the types of trees that once grew there. Imagine if they discover evidence of date palms. We might be looking at the world's oldest snack lane. The implications of these discoveries extend far beyond the pages of history books. They have modern relevance as well. Our world is currently grappling with significant environmental changes, including extreme weather patterns and devastating heat waves. Perhaps we should be asking ourselves what lessons we can learn from ancient civilizations that once managed to make the desert bloom. If nothing else, Talibu Sifi serves as a potent reminder that the ancient Egyptians were far more than just pharaohs, pyramids, and mummies. They were visionary planners, eco-architects, and highly effective problem solvers. They didn't passively wait for nature to provide. They actively engineered their environment to meet their needs. And thanks to discoveries like this, we are gaining a clearer and more nuanced understanding of just how advanced, and frankly, how astonishingly cool ancient Egyptian civilization truly was. So, the next time someone tells you that deserts are simply empty wastelands, you can surprise them with this fascinating fact. Over 2,000 years ago, in the heart of the Sinai Desert, there stood a fortress complete with a tree-lined avenue, moats, military housing, an industrial center, and even a mysterious underground structure. Take that, sand dunes! Who knows what other secrets are still buried out there, waiting to be unearthed and rewrite our understanding of history? The Sahara Desert might seem like a scene from a Mad Max movie. Scorching heat, endless dunes, and an overall barren landscape, a place seemingly uninhabitable. But forget everything you think you know about it, because 5,000 years ago, imagine, if you will, the Sahara Desert transformed. Not the arid wasteland we know today, but a vibrant, teeming paradise. A land of sprawling grasslands, glistening lakes, and meandering rivers. This was once home to a mysterious, vanished civilization, a ghost culture swallowed by the sands of time. Our story begins in the 1930s. Picture a lone Hungarian explorer venturing deep into the heart of the Sahara. He stumbles upon a hidden cave, and inside he finds something truly extraordinary. Ancient rock paintings. These aren't just crude sketches. They depict scenes of life, of people swimming in a vast lake surrounded by giraffes, hippos, and crocodiles. At the time, the world dismissed them as symbolic representations, perhaps of an afterlife. After all, who could fathom a lake in the middle of the Sahara? Now, let's fast forward 70 years. A team of archaeologists makes a groundbreaking discovery in a rock shelter in Libya. They unearth 15 remarkably preserved mummies, alongside baskets, ceramic pots, and the everyday objects of a long-lost people. To the untrained eye, This might seem like mere prehistoric junk, but to archaeologists, this is a treasure trove, a key piece of evidence that rewrites history. These people weren't just passing through. They lived here, they thrived, and these weren't just any mummies. These were some of the oldest naturally mummified humans ever discovered, dating back over 7,000 years. Eat your heart out, Egypt! Miraculously, two of them still contained readable DNA, preserved thanks to a rare and fortuitous natural mummification process. A true miracle, considering the Sahara's unforgiving climate, which can turn anything into, well, something akin to beef jerky. For a while, scientists grappled with the origins of these mummies. The mitochondrial DNA offered little insight. But, thanks to advancements in scientific technology, they eventually managed to conduct a full genome analysis, revealing some astonishing secrets. These people belonged to a previously unknown human lineage, isolated from the rest of humanity for millennia. For decades, researchers had assumed that the Green Sahara was a prehistoric highway, a lush corridor that facilitated migration between sub-Saharan Africa and the Mediterranean. But these mummies shattered that theory like a hippo crushing a sandcastle. Their DNA showed virtually no genetic mixing with sub-Saharan or Eurasian migrants. They kept their genes remarkably pure for 7,000 years. Their closest genetic relatives weren't their immediate neighbors to the south, but ancient hunter-gatherers from Morocco, and even individuals who lived in the Czech Republic some 50,000 years ago, before it was even a country. The surprises don't end there. These mummies also carried faint traces of Neanderthal DNA, about 10% of the amount found in modern Eurasians. If you remember your history, Neanderthals inhabited Europe and Asia, and early humans only interbred with them after migrating out of Africa. But these Green Sahara people never left Africa, so how did they acquire Neanderthal genes? The prevailing theory suggests that their ancestors mixed with Neanderthals in North Africa around 50,000 years ago, before settling in the Sahara and severing contact with the outside world. Archaeological digs at the rock shelter also unearthed cattle bones, along with tools crafted from stone and wood. This evidence suggests that these people led a flourishing pastoral lifestyle. This discovery initially perplexed scientists, as animal domestication was not believed to have originated in Africa. So how did they learn it if they remained isolated? Did they have access to ancient YouTube tutorials? Unlikely. Researchers theorize that they must have exchanged knowledge with neighboring groups, but only knowledge, no genetic mingling. It's almost unbelievable that no outsiders intermixed with them. After all, who wouldn't want to live in a thriving civilization in the middle of a green paradise? Imagine drinking milk, eating meat, even using animal blood as a protein source. A bit unappetizing to us now, perhaps, but a valuable resource then. They didn't have to hunt for every meal thanks to their livestock, and the abundant water made life relatively comfortable. And yet, they never intermarried with outsiders. Why? Perhaps it was a cultural choice, a strict taboo against marrying outside their own group. Or perhaps the landscape itself enforced their isolation. This is where scientists place their bets. They believe that the dense forests and rivers of the Green Sahara acted as nature's no trespassing sign, creating a geographical barrier that isolated animals, plants, and entire societies. This isolation is the key to their unique genetic makeup. These people simply weren't sharing their DNA with anyone else. But this genetic time capsule nearly didn't survive. For most of the last ice age, the Sahara was even more inhospitable than it is today, a true dead zone where human life was unsustainable. Around 70,000 years ago, even the toughest populations retreated, seeking refuge in the Nile Valley and along the Mediterranean coast. Why? Because Earth was a climate bully. Massive glaciers stole all the moisture, and we imagine a world transformed, not by magic, but by the slow, relentless shifts of our planet itself. Picture North Africa, millions of years ago. The Sahara Desert as we know it. A distant dream. Instead, monsoons unleash torrents of rain, but even these powerful storms struggle to reach the parched lands. Then, nature throws its knockout punch. Colossal armadas of icebergs surge into the North Atlantic. Each icy invasion triggers devastating droughts, solidifying the Sahara's reputation as a land to avoid. But the story doesn't end there. What happened to turn the Sahara green, only to revert to its arid state? The answer lies in the Earth's ancient wobble, a subtle shift in our planet's axis that began around 15,000 years ago, as the last ice age loosened its grip. This wobble brought the northern hemisphere closer to the sun, bathing it in extra sunlight and heat. North Africa became a magnet for moisture, drawing water from the Atlantic and unleashing it as life-giving rain upon the Sahara. The result? A breathtaking transformation. Lush savannas stretched across the landscape, dotted with lakes rivaling the size of small countries. This African humid period wasn't a one-off miracle. In fact, this dramatic on-off switch between green and desert has occurred more than 230 times since the Sahara's birth. During one of these humid periods, the Sahara even expanded, dwarfing its current size. With the arrival of the Green Sahara came an ecological glow-up of epic proportions. This wasn't just a sprinkling of grass, it was a complete makeover that reshaped entire ecosystems. Animal populations underwent dramatic shifts. Cheetahs, Acinonyx jubatus, struggled to adapt to new prey dynamics, while rodents like the multi-mammoth mouse, Mastimus natalensis, thrived in the suddenly abundant grasslands. But this prehistoric paradise wasn't without its perils. The Green Sahara was an ecological maze teeming with dangers. Crocodile-infested rivers snaked across the landscape, malaria-carrying mosquitoes buzzed in the humid air, and big cats stalked prey in the tall grass. Crossing this transformed landscape would have been like playing a real-life version of Hungry Hungry Hippos, a deadly game of survival. Perhaps this is why permanent settlements remained scarce. The Sahara's climate oscillated between wet and dry every 20,000 years, offering little long-term stability. For most ancient people, the Green Sahara was best treated as an all-you-can-eat buffet. Grab the resources and leave before the desert returned. Yet this Green Sahara period persisted for a remarkable 10,000 years, providing ample time for nomadic shepherds to thrive. But around 5,000 years ago, Earth's axis shifted once again. The rains retreated, and the Sahara dried up with alarming speed. As the desert reclaimed its territory, the shepherds had no choice but to gather their livestock and embark on a new journey. Some researchers believe these migrations led them towards the Nile, laying the foundations for ancient Egypt. Their pure lineage may be lost to time, but traces of their genes can still be found in the people of North Africa today. But these nomadic shepherds weren't the only inhabitants of the Green Sahara. In a lakeside village in Niger, another group of people thrived for 5,000 years, leaving behind the oldest Sahara Desert cemetery. Among the graves were poignant discoveries: a man buried in a turtle shell, a grinning skull with filed teeth, and a heartbreaking family embrace frozen in time. Victims of the very waters that sustained them. Eventually, this population vanished, mirroring the fate of their nomadic neighbors. The Sahara, it seems, is a master of deception, offering paradise with one hand and snatching it away with the other. Now let's shift our focus to Europe, specifically the Iberian Peninsula. What if the extraterrestrials we imagine as little green men actually resemble ordinary Earthlings and are hiding in plain sight? Intriguing, isn't it? There's a reason for this suspicion. Certain artifacts from the Iberian civilization, known as the Treasure of Valina, are made of metal that cannot be found on Earth, metal from a meteorite. Let's delve deeper. The artifact in question comprises 59 distinct objects. Bowls, bottles, bracelets, each meticulously crafted. Weighing approximately 20 pounds, 18 pounds consist of 23.5 karat gold. For those unfamiliar with metal composition, 23 karat gold is 95.8% pure. This means that 23.5 karat gold is even purer. The remaining percentage is composed of other metals, enhancing the alloy's strength and durability. The set also includes silver, iron, and amber. While most of the artifacts seem straightforward, two items stand out: a wrought iron bracelet and a hollow hemisphere. Notice the rusty lines on the hemisphere and its overall unusual appearance. Imagine a glint of color amidst the timeless gleam of gold. A bracelet crafted millennia ago, where the subtle hue of its adornments screams for attention against the backdrop of flawless, purest gold. Our story begins in 1963, when a keen-eyed researcher stumbled upon a peculiar, dull, leaden metal nestled among the gleaming bowls and bottles of an ancient trove. This metal, exhibiting a strange duality, shone brilliantly in certain spots, while elsewhere it was veiled by a cracked, almost ethereal oxide. Now, gold, as we know, is stubbornly inert. It defies the ravages of time, refusing to tarnish or rust. So, what was this impostor? To unravel the mystery of this unusual iron, scientists turned to mass spectrometry, a process that meticulously analyzes the mass-to-charge ratio of molecules. The results were astonishing. The nickel composition within the iron mirrored that found in meteoritic iron. In simpler terms, both the bracelet and a mysterious hemisphere discovered alongside it were not of this world. They were extraterrestrial artifacts. The challenge now lay in pinpointing the exact age of this incredible find. This was a crucial detail. Determining its age would allow researchers to ascertain whether its creation coincided with the dawn of the Iron Age on the Iberian Peninsula. If the timeline aligned, the mystery would be neatly solved. However, should the artifact predate the Iron Age, it would present a perplexing anomaly, a historical riddle demanding an explanation. Consider the three-age system, a framework that divides prehistory into the Stone Age, the Bronze Age, and the Iron Age. While the Stone Age holds little relevance to our investigation, the transition from the Bronze Age to the Iron Age is pivotal. The Bronze Age emerged when ancient metallurgists discovered that combining copper and tin yielded a superior material: bronze, far more resilient than either metal alone. This era witnessed groundbreaking advancements in tools and weaponry, but two inventions stand above the rest: riding systems that revolutionized travel and warfare, and the wheel, which transformed transportation and engineering. Then, slowly but surely, came the Iron Age. Iron, more readily shaped and molded than bronze, gradually infiltrated every facet of daily life. This was a watershed moment. Iron, especially when transformed into steel, offered significant improvements across the board. Tools became lighter, more affordable, and far stronger than their bronze predecessors. For decades, scholars have debated the true age of this extraordinary treasure, with opinions divided between the post-Argaric period and the twilight of the Bronze Age. However, recent studies suggest that these artifacts were crafted between 1400 and 1200 BCE. But here's where the plot thickens. The Iron Age didn't officially begin until roughly 500 years after. These artifacts were made. Moreover, it seems improbable that ancient artisans could have possessed the knowledge to manipulate metals originating from a meteorite that crashed to Earth approximately 1 million years ago. While the dating discrepancies present a significant puzzle, a plausible explanation for the craftsmanship does exist. The theory proposes that these skilled metalworkers simply had access to a fallen meteorite. This allowed them to meticulously study its properties and unlock its secrets through experimentation. Once they mastered the art of working with this extraterrestrial metal, they incorporated it into their decorative creations. Furthermore, the Phoenicians, renowned for their maritime prowess and cultural exchange, likely played a role in refining their craftsmanship. While the indigenous peoples of the Iberian Peninsula had been working with metals and producing pottery long before the Phoenician arrival, the introduction of new metalworking techniques and the revolutionary potter's wheel undoubtedly accelerated their progress, enabling them to produce superior goods at an unprecedented pace. So, we've established the extraterrestrial origins of these Iberian artifacts. But the intrigue doesn't end there. This region harbors yet another enigma: its language. Most modern languages can trace their lineage back to a common proto-language. For example, Italian, Spanish, and French all derive from Latin, explaining their inherent similarities. Yet, Iberian, the language spoken in what is now modern Spain, defies this pattern. Spanish bears virtually no resemblance to it. In fact, no known language today shares a clear connection with Iberian. The sole exception might be the Basque language, but even this link is tenuous, based on superficial similarities in their numerical systems. Basque itself is classified as a language isolate, unrelated to any other known language, a linguistic anomaly unique to Europe. As for Iberian, it remains unclassified. Despite significant progress in deciphering the scripts in which it was written, the language itself remains shrouded in mystery. And consider the Iberian alphabet. Its very appearance seems alien, almost otherworldly. But perhaps this is a bridge too far. When the Phoenicians arrived on the peninsula, they brought with them their own alphabet. However, the fiercely independent Iberians were unlikely to simply adopt a foreign writing system wholesale. Instead, they adapted and modified it, transforming it into something entirely their own. They drew inspiration from the Phoenician script, but ultimately forged a unique visual identity. While linguists can make educated guesses about the sounds represented by certain characters, a comprehensive translation of the Iberian language remains an elusive goal. The language still resists all attempts to fully reveal its secrets.